This is Shabbat, right? This is Shabbat.
At this point, I can't really tell you.
Can't tell me.
So many
But I'm
holidays.
counting on you.
Oh, okay. In that case, yes. I'll just say yes.
Just say yes. Just say
I'm
yes.
gonna do turn, turn, turn.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I never announced it anyway, actually, so I guess I didn't need to know.
But I like to keep you in the loop.
Well, that's nice. Okay, friends, we're going to begin. So, if you're in the sukkah, it's time to put down that wine. Or not. If you're in the tent and want to get some wine, there's some in there. They're going to put it away soon. There's some nasharai and cheese and such like that. For our friends online, you just have to go to the fridge.
Oh.
So nice to be with you. Welcome back to our tent. The last Friday night, the last Shabbat Eve in our tent before we go to our more of a fixed tent in our sanctuary. But we're glad you all are here. Let's begin again. Page 141. Once you find page 141, you will see the psalm, and you have to count down 9 lines. Is it the 9th line? Yes. You're going to count down 9 lines. If somebody comes a little bit late and they sit next to you or close to you, tell them to go down 9 lines. It'll be very important for them to find their way. Page 141. And if you have our version of the prayer book that's either large print, or if you have a prayer book that says Shabbat on the spine, and you'll see 2 different page numbers, you're going to follow the page number in blue brackets. Great. 141, 9 lines down. It's a nice way to begin. Let's turn back to page 120. Page 120, we're going to light our Shabbat lights, and celebrate time together. Let's see. Lisa, would you come forward? Would you? Thank you. I love not asking people permission. 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Shabbat shalom. Let's turn the page 123. We ask you to rise if you are able.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Friends, you can be seated. We turn forward to 138 and 139. Lecha Dodi, the prayer from our mystics of Tzfat. On 138 is where we begin, and we continue with the first 5 stanzas. After the 5th one, we jump to the very last one, the 9th one. And when we say Boi v'Shalom, we welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst. There's a custom of facing the direction either indoors where the door is opening, but if we're outdoors, we see where the sun goes down. So you're in the perfect place. 138, 139, first 5 stanzas. The last one, we rise and we welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst.
Lecha
We Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei HaShalom. Echadoti likrat Allah penei Shabbat kabbalah. Echadoti likrat Allah penei Shabbat kabbalah.
May be seated. We turn 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי,
בחייכון
וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה,
תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ביעלמה.
ויאמרו אמן.
Let's turn the page.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my friend, or cross over? This is an hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my friend, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. 152.
La 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 la.
See the words in your handout.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai. Shem kevod, Shem kevod malchuto, leolam, leolam vaed. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto, leolam, leolam vaed. Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai. You shall love God with all of your hearts, with soul and with all of your might. You shall teach your children to grow, to love and to know what is right. Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai, Yain Elai Elai.
May be seated. Mi Chamocha 158.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osei veleh, norat tehilot osei veleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeh hayam, v'gimoshem et yam. Zeili, Zeili, hanu ve'yam eru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
ונאמר כי בד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim, L'chaim. Ufos aleinu Sukkot Shomecha, V'tachneinu Be'esat Tova Milfanecha, V'hoshienu Le'man Shemecha. Hashkivenu l'Adonai, Eloheinu l'Shalom, V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim, L'chaim. Ufos aleinu Sukkot Shomecha, V'tachneinu Be'esat Tova Milfanecha, V'hoshienu Le'man Shemecha.
We turn the page.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Again, we turn 164. We ask you to rise. If you are able, let's move into the tefillah together.
אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אהבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מחלקל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדום מלך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
May be seated. Let's look on the middle of 174. Our God and God of our fathers and mothers who came before us, on this day of Sukkot, be mindful of us and all of your people Israel for good, for love, for compassion, life, and peace. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, Amen. Ufakdinu vo livracha, Amen. V'oshienu vo l'chaim. Remember us for well-being. Visit us with blessing. Help us to a fuller life. Since we are still in the midst of Sukkot, a little special prayer, 177. Let's read together. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lehol HaShalom. Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim
Let's take some time for our own personal prayer. You can follow on 179 through 181, choose a reading to reflect upon, or just take some quiet time, some silent time. Bring a blanket. If you opened up that little handout that we give out each week, in the middle, of course, we have a list of names, folks who could use some strength and love and prayer from us. And we'll continue with our prayer for healing that is also in the handout. But before we move to that prayer, if you'd like to lift up a name, if you'd like to share it out loud with us, let's do so. The words are in the handout. We send some strength to them.
Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days. El Narifana illuminate our lives. And thank you for all these blessings throughout our days and nights. We celebrate the journey, this precious gift of life. And
El Na Refanala is words from the Torah when Miriam becomes sick very suddenly. Moses learns of it, their brother and sister, and he just shares this prayer. It's so unusual in the Torah, actually. You don't see people's prayers or pleas to God so often. It's just El Na Refanala, please God, heal her. Perhaps one of the most authentic prayers there could be. The rabbis actually say that the most authentic prayer that is always going to be heard is going to be tears. That the gates of teshuvah, of repentance, the gates of prayer are always going to be open to tears. So I appreciate that melody and that prayer. Our last night in this tent for a whole year, I'm kind of liked it out here. I love this kind of chill. I have a dream of getting everybody their own Har HaShem fleece blanket. It's a dream. It's a dream. And there's this idea, especially now, this particular Shabbat, we're coming to the end of the Torah reading. We have Simchat Torah tomorrow night. We have our sukkah still up. We had some nasharai before egg. There was a pre-neg instead of an oneg, so we were inside. We were showing people how to wave the lulav and the etrog. It was really quite lovely, and I love Sukkot because in it says this line that's in our prayer book. We sang it just a little while ago in the prayer called Hashkivenu. It's Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu, spread over us this Sukkot Shlomecha, a sukkah of shalom, your shalom. We're asking God to spread your sukkah of peace, of wholeness over all of us. And I think that's kind of why I dig this tent. There's this sukkah of sorts, and I always will say that if everybody was going to come on one day, it should be at some point over Sukkot. There is incredible ideas around this little sukkah of ours, or wherever it is all around the world. Why is it that every Shabbat we think about a sukkah of peace? It's not just during Sukkot, but is this shelter, this covering, this something of shalom, of peace, of wholeness. What's the connection between a sukkah and peace? There has to be one, because it's part of our liturgy every evening that someone might say. It doesn't say we should take a talit, a talis, and spread that over us. We don't take a piece of matzah and spread that over us. What is it about the sukkah that is so special to our ancestors? Well, there's one interpretation I wanted to share, and it's from an Orthodox rabbi from the beginning of the 20th century. His name is Isaac Cohen Cook. And Rav Cook, he was the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi in Palestine, in the land of Israel, before Israel became a state. So in the early part of the 20th century, Rav Cook, he offers a couple of interesting explanations about an appropriate sukkah, because everything in Jewish life is kind of kosher or not. It's not just food. It's other things too. Kosher, kasher. Kasher is what's appropriate or fit. And what is going to make a sukkah ritually fit for us to use to fulfill the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah? And he says that a sukkah is supposed to have 4 walls, but if some reason you only have 2 and a piece of a third, it's kosher. You only need 2 and a piece. That's it. But usually everything else that's important to us ritually has to be like really special. We decorate the Torah scroll, we have silver around it. If we have certain Judaica, it might be art. I'm using these as paperweights. If we have a challah cover, it's embroidered. Like all of these things we have are so special, but a sukkah could be slanted. The roof can't be so secure. You have to be able to see through it, right? You see the stars through it. It's supposed to be beautifully decorated, but if you have no decorations whatsoever, it's still kosher. So all you need is something a little wobbly, like mine at home, slanting a little bit, and 2 sides with a part of a third. And he gives other examples, of course, of how a ritually kosher sukkah should be. But one thing that we try and recognize about Sukkot is that people try and get the best of something, even for our ritual. The lulav, the etrog, they have to be really good, but not the sukkah. If you get tefillin, you want it to be also of a certain quality, but not the sukkah. So it brings me back to this idea of sukkah and peace. One of the things I really love is it's not perfect. We live in this society where everyone and everything has to be perfect. There's so much pressure, so much tsuris, and it's so unnecessary because there's nothing really that is perfect. If I was to look at a Torah scroll, and I know that if there's a letter that's broken, it's not kosher anymore. Some might say it has to be perfect, but I would rather say it has to be whole. And to be whole needs to have all of the letters written properly because each letter represents one of us. And if one letter is broken, then we have to help to try and restore the integrity to that letter the way we would our neighbor or someone who needs us. But the sukkah, still, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's slanted, all of these things. You know, the sukkah is the only thing, I think, in Jewish law that really tolerates a deliberate imperfection. And Rav Kook says that's why we speak of the sukkah of peace, because peace can never exist if we insist on perfection. that sense of wholeness or calm or being settled. We'll never, ever find it if we're looking for perfection. There's a big shortage of perfect people, no matter how perfect some say they are or act. There's a big shortage of perfect people in the world. But if we're willing to sit in a sukkah and see a part of it lean over, despite all of its imperfections, then maybe we can look at our imperfections and just sit with them too. That doesn't mean we don't try and be better and do more, of course. But there's a certain point where our ambitions or wanting to achieve actually put such hurt and pressure on us or the people around us. I think there's a lot of people who talk about this Jewish principle called Shalom Bayit. When there's arguments in the house, you want to create Shalom Bayit. Shalom, peace, Bayit is the word for a house. Sometimes I think it's been used and kind of weaponized against a lot of women to kind of be quiet, right? And that's not acceptable. But at the same time, the idea of Shalom Bayit, how do you really make peace in the house? The first thing that I always think of is a mezuzah, right? There's a mezuzah that traditionally is on every door in one's house, even your walk-in closets, folks. And I know some of you have them. Not on bathrooms, I don't need to explain why, but on every entrance to a house, from the garage into the kitchen, there's a mezuzah traditionally on the house. And the rabbis are going to argue, does it go up and down or does it go sideways? How is it on your door frame? It's in the middle. Everybody's going like this to me. I don't know what that means. Keep your hands down. They're slanted. There's a compromise. In order for there to be some level of holiness in the house of any of our homes, then there has to be a little bit of a give and take. It can't only be this way. I have to be careful what I'm doing now. It can't only be up and down, and it can't only be side to side. So it's going to be on that angle. I think that's precious. And then there's Torah inside of that box, inside of that mezuzah. That's the only way to go through life. And so often we see people on one side or another, and there's nobody inside the sukkah. Because if I'm perfect and right, then you have to be wrong. And that takes so much away from our wider community, certainly our country. So our fragile sukkah and the peace it represents teaches us an important lesson. I think God prefers the broken and the contrite heart that knows its failures over the complacent and the arrogant one that claims that it has never erred. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to try to be better. And I actually believe with all my heart that God will accept us as we are, if only we would. If only we would. Last thing, Rabbi Harold Kushner, who I love to quote and read even after all of these years, he wrote a book, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, How Good Do We Have to Be? It's still a very good book. And he says, the person who claims to be perfect without flaw or defect is claiming to be like God. The person who knows all of their flaws all too well is open to God's love and God's presence because they realize they're not God. I love that. I'm not so sure most people act that way. I think when we see our flaws, that's all that we can see, instead of thinking about how everybody shares in this. So again, Rav Kook, peace is so precious and so necessary that even if it can't be achieved perfectly, it's worth trying to attain even just a little bit, even if it is only the peace of the sukkah. So maybe that's why Sukkot is a time of rejoicing and of thanksgiving. So we have a little more time in our sukkah. Hope that if you have one at home, that you've enjoyed yours and that it has withstood some of the winds, which is very much like our lives. So I share that and wish everyone a sweet Sukkot of peace and gratitude.
This Shabbat is Chol HaMoed Sukkot, the Shabbat in between, Shabbat in Sukkot. And we have a special text that we read this Shabbat, Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. And if you come tomorrow morning, hint, hint, you will get to hear it chanted, and it's chanted in a special way. It's a special trope for this Megillah. It's one of the scrolls, one of the 5 scrolls. And we have a great song that uses text from Ecclesiastes. So please turn to page 664. I think, hopefully, most of you will know it. If you don't, you got to go and Google the birds. Turn, turn, turn. Yeah, I think so too. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. I really can't hear you, so you're just gonna have to sing louder. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. That was better. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace. A time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time of love, a time of hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven.
Yafeh. We'll continue with Aleinu, sung to Mr. Tambourine Man. Page 500. Not really, no.
For next week, Rabbi.
586 at the bottom of the page. We invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
588.
שהונות השמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
May be seated. Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing. If you are observing a yahrzeit, the anniversary of one's death, or if you are in a period of mourning, and if you choose to, we invite you to rise for a moment, share the name of the one whom you are remembering this Shabbat, and then we'll continue with additional names from the community. Yeah. Yeah. We also remember in those first 30 days, the period of Shloshim, remember Laura Jones, the friend of Emma Friedman, Robbie Lynn Sheffield, the mother of Jesse Sheffield, and those yahrzeits for this week that has passed. We remember Marie Antonello, Larry Bimstein, Stanley Blum, Morris Cohen, Steve Feinberg, Jean Fitzgerald, Beatrice Golub, Sue Golden, Bernard Jaworski, Edwin Leaf, Solomon Lehrer, Joseph Lecalci, B. Lepel, Eileen Manoff, Helen Milloway, Dorothy Rodney, Milton Roman, Evelyn Rosner, Dorothy Rothaus, Sylvia Scharf, Natalie Stein, Robert Stein, Arthur Tarley, Myron Tarnoff, and Richard Unger. Kaddish is on page 598. We stand as a community, and in that symbolic way, standing shoulder to shoulder, we support our friends who are mourners this Shabbat. 598. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'meru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, Shemei d'Kodesha Berechu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma, v'yimeru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru amen. Oser shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimeru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, all who hurt, here and everywhere. Let's say amen.
Amen.
We can be seated, friends. Our closing prayer is on 626. A few quick things. We'll be so very grateful as you head back to your warm houses. Please bring the Sidurim, the prayer books, back to our cart. You can put back the little handouts if you're not keeping them. In our handouts, we have information about what's coming next. And of course, Shabbat, starting Shabbat morning, tomorrow morning, we will be back in our other tent, the sanctuary. So we'll be in the sanctuary from here on out. Simchat Torah is not tomorrow night, the following night. We do have a klezmer group with us. If you don't know klezmer, it's sort of like Ashkenazi Jewish R&B. So, boy, mix a metaphor there. So, you think jazz more?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So Sunday night in the sanctuary, we are dancing with the Torah scrolls again. We are unrolling it again. These are things we haven't done in a long time, so we need some people to help hold up the Torah. Always, but especially Simchat Torah. And then Monday morning, we'll have that minyan, a simple minyan in the sanctuary, also to mark Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret, and that's where also we will say some prayers for Yizkor and our remembrances at the end of our major holy days. So that is what's going on in our immediate future, and lots of other things are happening. Continue to look at those emails and our adult learning page. And if there's ever any question, there's a bunch of us around. There's a few board members. Any question, you could just ask Andrew, and that'll be fine. Okay.
Just a quick thank you to Orzim Ra for blessing us with their voices and music.
Amen.
Yeah. Oh, En Kelohenu. We're going to close with En Kelohenu, page 626.
Oof.
Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Ein Eloheinu, Ein Adonenu, Ein Malkeinu, Ein Moshienu. You are our God. You are our God. You are our God. You are living God. You are our God. We will praise your name. Ein Eloheinu.
Before you go, turn to someone you don't know, share your name, learn their name, meet one person new. You don't have to shake hands if you're not ready for it, but you have to meet one person. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Thanks, friends. Thank you. I haven't heard that in a long time. I told you the other day, it was like, they do this thing, and I hated that song, but I really like it, the way that they do it, and I couldn't remember how it went.